Hold up. Wait. We want to thank you for listening to the Pharms Not Farms podcast presented by GuerillaHealer by giving you a 20% off discount code to GuerillaHealer.org. Use code SEASON2 when you check out at GuerillaHealer.org off any item not currently on sale. And also be sure to check out BuildTheSoil.com, our Pharms Not Farms podcast sponsor, for all of your organic soil amendment needs. BuildTheSoil.com, the internet's #1 spot for your organic soil amendments. Back to the podcast. Welcome to the Pharms Not Farms podcast. We're here today with another very special guest. I'm very excited for this interview. And today we're here with David Bronner from Dr. Bronner's Magic Soaps. If you'd be so kind to just introduce yourself real quick, tell us a little bit about you and your company, and then we'll get right into some questions.
Yeah, right on. Well, thanks for having me. I am David Bronner, Cosmic Engagement Officer, CEO at Dr. Bronner's. My grandfather, Dr. Bronner, founded us as a nonprofit religious organization to unite the human race across religious and ethnic divides. He put his message of unity and peace on his famous Castile soaps. His grandfather first started manufacturing soap in the Jewish quarter of a small German town called Laupheim, he just wrote his dad and uncles and mom was killed in the Holocaust. Just originally felt that if we don't realize that transcendent unity in the next Holocaust with a nuclear armed world, we're going to all perish. And just an amazing engine that he created, and we try to honor his vision in different ways. And we can get into that. But thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not going to lie, I didn't know about that part about the story that they started back then, or that lost family in the Holocaust. And that's definitely, they say out of big pressure, comes some solid, timeless pieces of life. And that's how diamonds are created. And in this way, out of something absolutely terrible came something that is now, in my eyes, being an incredible contribution to our world through, education and application. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show is because you guys are being the change with which you wish to see in the world as best as you can. Nobody's perfect and nobody can expect to be perfect. And, it's in that way, we can only do our best. And so many of us have so much potential to do more. And through seeing inspiration, we get to learn what's possible and perhaps how to apply our own magic of what we love into the world. And so, typically I ask this at the end of the episode, though I want to ask this now. What would you say your contribution to our world is?
Man. Well, I think it is definitely, resonating to my grandfather's vision. And, we translate that in different ways. But I guess my two main passion projects in life are integration of psychedelic medicines and therapy and cannabis to help us be our better, higher selves, more in touch with our authentic being and connected to nature and each other, and more compassionate, less judgmental. And then regenerative organic agriculture, which basically brings together kind of the best of soil health, kind of organic plus, as well as animal welfare, so pasture-based livestock criteria, and then fair labor standards, since farm worker sector is generally one of the kind of most exploited. So, how do we farm in nature's image? How do we make our food, our ingredients for our soaps, the fiber for our clothes? How do we do this in a way that's not harming nature? So that's these are the two things I'm really passionate about. And we formed an organization called Regenerative Organic Alliance, so regenorganic.org. You can go to regenorganic.org, and it's got our new standard, regenerative organic certification. And it's kind of like, instead of looking for organic and an animal welfare and a fair trade certification, you can get them all in one single spot. Yeah.
Sweet. So basically, with the corner of the world that you're operating in, your own little corner, so to speak. We all have our own little corner. The things that you're coming into contact with or utilizing it as ingredients in your company that's been around since what year?
Well, it's a little amorphous, but my granddad, which is say 1948.
1948.
Yeah,
So
1858, going back to the first German Jewish manufacturer. Yeah.
wow, 1858. So at this point, you've now established channels for your ingredients to be as sustainable as possible. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah. So we've got each of our ingredients. It's been a story. I mean, we bought our ingredients like everybody else from brokers on price and spec. Basically, if it meets our spec and whoever's got the lowest price. But we realized that this is what's ruining the world. And when you're buying your coconut oil and your olive oil and your palm oil, and you're not thinking about where it's coming from, what are the growing conditions, it's generally a disaster. It's just like, rainforest being ripped up, farming communities destroyed. It's just this rapacious industrial agricultural machine that's just, ruining the world. And fair and organic was good, but we realized it wasn't enough, and we still didn't know what was the pricing, was it fair, what were the working conditions. So we realized we needed to establish direct trading relationships with each of our farming partners and really understand and help them, grow to best regenerative practices. And so our first major ingredient was coconut oil, and there's a new book out, so it's called Honor Thy Label by GuerillaHealer. So Dr. GuerillaHealer, he's our VP of Special Operations, and he's an ace on a lot of different ways. But he came to us. We fought the DEA over hemp, adding hemp seed oil in our soaps back in '99. Like, we were in a big protracted legal battle from 2001 and 2004. And Garrow came into hemp through hemp fiber, and in his interest in natural fibers as alternative to synthetic petrochemical fibers. And he had a lot of networks in Sri Lanka. So coconut is huge in Sri Lanka, and the coconut core, the fiber from the outer husk, there's all kinds of stuff you can do with it. So he was like coming in, he already had experience with coconut fiber, and, we beat the DEA together. He was a key asset on our team. But I told him, the tsunami hit Sri Lanka in 2004, and we were helping him do this microloan program, and he was helping repair like fishing boats and sewing shops and stuff like that. But I'm like, Garrow, there's so much coconut going on there. Let's buy an oil mill and partner with these farmers on fair trade terms, and really help out that way. So, long story short, our sister company, Serendipol, which is now just rocking it over in Sri Lanka, working with thousands of coconut farmers, and promoting best regenerative practices, and making sure you got nitrogen fixing cover crops in between the trees, and you're pruning and you're mulching and you're bringing the biomass back, building fertility naturally. We got a partner project in Ghana for palm. Palm is one of the worst crops, how it's grown, but there's nothing inherent to palm that's bad. It's just another tree crop. And we're showing how you can do it in a totally regenerative system. And actually we're intercropping, our farmers are intercropping palm, cocoa, banana, and cassava. And cocoa is also really problematic. In West Africa, it's generally grown in these dense monocultures, very pesticide intensive. They actually have like child slavery because the prices are so low, really problematic. But we're showing when you take these crops, and what we're doing is called dynamic ag forestry. And if you look at a natural forest, you'll get tall trees, mid-level trees, like bushes and ground cover. And when that maximizes photosynthetic capture and biomass. And when you plant like your crops in a similar way, if you understand, like palm is tall, and then your cocoa and your bananas are kind of mid-level, and then your cassava is on the ground, and you understand how the canopies are going to fill in. So you get the distances right in between. Like, if you do this all right, like, you will double your yield versus doing monoculture blocks of those same crops in the same area. You're going to double your yield. You're going to double your income. You're going to minimize weed and pest pressure because it's like diverse. You don't have like the same thing right up next to each other. you're putting huge amounts of carbon into the soil and, sequestering carbon and helping mitigate climate change. And so we're showing like two of the world's most problematic crops you can actually do in a totally regenerative way. And then the last story I'll tell is olive oil. So our olive oil primarily comes from Palestinian farmers in the West Bank. They're doing cultivating olives in a totally regenerative way, and Canaan Fair Trade. Yeah, they're super dope. And then the balance, so like we get 90% from Palestinian farmers, and then 10% comes from the Israeli side. And one of my great aunts actually went to a kibbutz and then Palestine, it became Israel, and I got family there. And we hate the occupation. There's a lot of things that are off there, but but Israel's great, and it's like America. It's a very diverse country, and you got your right and your left, and it's very complex. But we partner with a Jewish family farm and then a Christian Palestinian project on the Israeli side. So we've got Muslim, like the Palestinian olive oil we get is Muslim, and so it's like Muslim, Christian, Jewish olive oil in our soaps, and really resonating to my granddad's all one vision, and it's all regenerative and organic. So yeah, so each of our ingredients has got a story, and we're all trying to do, make sure everyone's winning. We're not like exploiting people or playing off farming communities against each other. No.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, and again, is like, you can say somebody is a dreamer, though until it's realized, it's only in someone's head or on paper. And, healing the world is, we know that, we got to start with ourselves. And in that way, our interactions are so important that they are what builds bridges or the ladder. And so I'm seeing your contribution through your actions, and aside from the fact that I'm surprised when people haven't yet heard of Dr. Bronner's, and I love when people have, because most people who've heard of Dr. Bronner's use it. And I brought it down here to Mexico. Everybody I know who uses it loves it for everything. And there's so many products on the shelves that I would never want to put on my body.
Yeah, totally.
So thank you, for keeping it going and allowing people like me to have something that we can rely on that's, as healthy as possible, that I don't have to make myself, because you're doing it. And it's not $1 million, and it's quality. A bottle will last you a long time if you use it right, because you can dilute it so much. It's the real deal. And similarly with products that we make at GuerillaHealer, we don't want to cut corners, because people are relying on it, and that's why it exists in the first place. I don't know if you know the story of why the soap was starting to get made in the first place, but I imagine it's because there was a need. And if you're welcome to touch on that real quick. Even though we have limited time, it seems perhaps pertinent information to why this began in the first place. Do you know?
Well, yeah. So our family makes soap. You touched on just a point you made there about you would never buy so much stuff on the shelf. It's crazy. There's so much toxic stuff out there. The cosmetics are not regulated nearly as well as they should be. There's just hormone disruptors and all kinds of stuff. And your skin, so your largest organ, and whatever you put on your skin is, some amount of that's going to go in your bloodstream. And it's not going to go through your liver, because when you eat, at least stuff goes through your liver and gets detoxified to an extent. But whatever you put on your skin, that's going in your blood and going in your body. And there's it's just some real nonsense. There's some really bad stuff out there. And including most quote unquote liquid soaps don't actually even have real soap in them. They're generally petrochemical, surfactant, detergent products. Much more problematic on a variety of ways. But our family makes soap in the way soap has been made for thousands of years. And, history of soap is probably the first, cooking fires. You had like animal fat would drip into the ashes, and you have alkali in the ash. And soap is basically a simple reaction of the fatty acids in oil or fats with an alkali. In the case of wood ash, that would be a potassium carbonate. Most solid soaps now are made with sodium hydroxide as the alkali, and in the case of liquid soap, it's potassium hydroxide. But it's a very simple reaction. Saponification reaction. You can do it on your stovetop. You just mix the ingredients, you stir it up, and you got soap and glycerin and water. You got to know what you're doing. You don't want to have any alkali left. That's going to be terrible on your skin. Quality soap makers, they understand, what oils are going to give you good lather, what oils are going to give you a nice emolliency. And so our family, we've been doing it for a long time. We know what we're doing. And I'll say, like, also, like, the first soap factories were in the ancient Levant, and in Aleppo in Syria, that unfortunately got, super bombed and whatever. But over 2,000 years ago, the first soap factories appeared in Aleppo, and some of them are still functioning. And then you had Tripoli and Lebanon became a center, and then Nablus in Palestine. Like 600 years ago, Nablus was a huge soap making center. So when I visit our Palestinian farmers, I can go and see these ancient soap making factories. I mean, it's pretty cool. So, like, in the 1858, this is when Louis Pasteur, he first identified germs, the germ theory of disease, realizing that, washing your hands, that in a hospital, like, where the surgeons would wash their hands, like, infectious outbreaks, decreased a huge amount. And people realized, oh shit, we should be washing our hands a lot more. So that was, I think, the kind of genesis. Like, all of a sudden, like, soaps became, like, recognized that they were not just about getting you clean, but actually preventing disease. And that's, I think, kind of what presented the opportunity in my family 5 generations ago.
Yeah. Sweet. And so in that way, it seems like, jumping on the wagon to be a pioneer, when the world is seeing that cleanliness is impactful. And throughout history, there's been different cultures that have impacted the world in various ways, including Judaism, through how to be, clean and hygienic. So that's amazing that, you just shared some of the soaps with modern history with us. And I'm grateful that I got to learn that. Thank you. And within that, you were talking about how hemp oil is one of your ingredients.
Yeah.
And I want to open up a window into how integral you guys have been in playing a part in allowing the hemp oil industry to exist. Would you help open that window a little bit if you could?
Yeah. So, I mean, to understand hemp, you got to understand, in college, I was drinking a lot of alcohol on the weekends. I was playing football, and just at a certain point, my roommates were like, just smoking cannabis and listening to music. It was just, I realized, man, this is way more high vibration and awesome than getting drunk on the bars every weekend. And just, and then, and just like when you smoke cannabis, you realize, like, wow, this is like way less problematic than alcohol. And the government, the authority is like, couldn't be more wrong. What else are they wrong about? And just really, kind of wakes you up. And in the case of cannabis, it's, the Marijuana Tax Act in 1937 was pretty much a racist policy to go after Mexican Americans. In a kind of depression era, jobs were scarce, alcohol prohibition had just ended. You have a lot of out of work federal regulators, something to do. And, so it's basically a racist proxy against Mexican Americans and African Americans. And, but I wasn't aware of all this. I just knew that I needed to go to Amsterdam after college and go hang out, because it was, free, cannabis. It was the center of the cannabis movement. And while I was there, I got into the squat scene, and I had some huge psychedelic experiences, some really big ones. experienced ego death into the love and light at the heart of existence, and understood what my granddad, Dr. Bronner, was saying all his life. Really didn't up until then. And, that all the faith traditions at their best, when they're not making idols out of their beliefs and demonizing each other, that at their best, they're pointing at this transcendent source. And all of them can get you there if you're humble and respectful and sincere. And it changed my life. And in my squat, there was these like sweet vegetarian hippie cats who'd come from Arkansas, where they had formed a church in 1993 with cannabis as their sacrament, and were making a First Amendment religious challenge to the drug war. And that didn't work out in 93 in Arkansas, and they were busted up, and these guys were facing 10 years to life. And I was just like, that's where I really woke up, and I was like, man, the drug war is just decimating people. And, it was a proxy to go after the counterculture, and it's in the 60s, like, basically, make cannabis and psychedelics illegal, and now you can go arrest everybody. Before that, and ongoing, people of color, brown and black people, bear the brunt of it. And it's just decimating our communities. So really woke up to like, we need to end the drug war, and that, addiction, people who have addictive problems, like we should just help them with treatment. And you don't call the police if your alcoholic uncle is struggling. You don't call the police and get him arrested. You get him treatment. It's not going to help him at all, making his life even worse. And like, so in that context, but then also it became vegan in this time, like kind of really thinking about like the disaster of Western consumption on the planet, and how much agriculture and diet has to do with that. And, while I do kind of now have a more appreciation of how like a much lower level of animals can be integrated into a farm ecosystem, and you can have a sustainable balance of plant and animal life in a farming ecosystem, just like a wild ecosystem. It's, it's got to be way reduced and done in a way that's, humane and fair, and the animal leads a life worth living and can fulfill its instinctual behaviors. And anyways, going through a big transformation, and it wasn't a straight line back to my family company, but in fact, I like sold all my stuff and moved to Amsterdam to grow plants and be an activist. But then that didn't quite work out, and was a mental health counselor in the Boston area for a while. And at a certain point, just was realizing, man, like, even though I didn't want to work for my dad's awesome. I didn't want to work for him. I wanted my own thing. But then I'm like, dang, Dr. Bronner is so awesome. Like, I go to work for a company like that in a second. I get a real opportunity, and made the choice to come in, and was able to communicate to my granddad, before he died, that I was going to dedicate my life to his vision and passion, and let my dad know. And Dr. Bronner, my granddad, died on the same day my daughter Maya was born, March 7th, 1997. And my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer shortly after, and given 6 months. We had a year together, just really amazing, intense year together. And then when he died, I had to step up, and one of the first things we did, just as we were kind of like, recalibrating, and, vowed like, we're going to run Bronner's, like, my family's always run this. It's an engine for progressive social change. And hemp seed oil, I was at a trade show, and first introduced to hemp seed oil. And initially my reaction was to hemp. I saw it in Amsterdam too. I was like, oh, whatever helps end, the war on drugs and cannabis and, whatever. But I read Emperor Wears No Clothes by Jack Hare, just an incredible book about how important cannabis was, and fiber varieties of cannabis for the world. And then in particular for American history, it was one of our most important crops. It was in Jamestown, it was illegal not to grow hemp on 10% of your farm. Like, you had to grow it. And like all the clipper ships, all their sails and their ropes, all the canvas covered wagons, all our clothes, everything was hemp. And it was just all systematically covered up by the government. And so hemp seed oil, so this is the oil that comes from hemp seeds, and hemp seeds are super nutritious, and they're really high in like a complete protein. They've got omega-3, one of the few significant plant sources of omega-3. And in a cosmetic or a soap, the more unsaturated your fatty acid is, the more smooth and emollient it is. So the omega-3 actually made the soap's lather even more emollient and less drying. So I had to convince my family. So we did a bunch of customer trials, and people were like, "Yeah, we like the one with the hemp." So I convinced my family, but really, my agenda was that hemp was both at the nexus of drug policy reform. It was like one of the most ridiculous examples of a drug war that was so out of control. We took this non-drug agricultural crop and made it a Schedule I substance. So it was like an opportunity to like engage on the drug war and like start landing some body blows, and open up space for cannabis. Just kind of like contradict the government narrative that hemp and cannabis are plant with roots in health, no redeeming value. Say, no, actually it makes great soap, really good clothes, great medicine. Is this kind of like that agenda? And then it was also, an amazing, it grows like a weed. You don't need a lot of herbicides and pesticides. It lends itself well to a regenerative organic crop rotation. It'll shade out weeds and reduce weed pressure. And so it was our first, so it's kind of at the nexus of drug policy reform and sustainable regenerative agriculture. So that's why we did it. And then, we in Canada had re-commercialized hemp in 98. And, we were all thinking we're going to get Gore in 2000, but then we got Bush, and we got 9/11, and then we got, just a right wing just went nuts on everything. And they went nuts on industrial hemp, and they went nuts on medical cannabis. And so they said that our hemp seed oil that we've been getting from Canada was now a Schedule I substance because of the trace residual THC that was totally inconsequential, but saying that recontrolled it under the Controlled Substances Act, even though it was explicitly exempt under marijuana. So it was just a stupid bullshit, read of regulations. So, but it was stressful because it's like, the country is traumatized, like the whole, we couldn't break through in the media. It was just like, it was a stressful time, but we filed suit against them in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and backed them down right before Bob Marley's birthday, February 6th, February 5th.
And you filed suit against who?
Against the Drug Enforcement Administration. So
Okay.
DEA. So it was us against the DEA. So in our company name, we do business as Dr. Bronner's, but our corporate name is All One God Faith. So it's all One God Faith versus the Drug Enforcement Administration. And yeah, man. And then we won that initial battle. And then 3 years later, February 6th, 2004, we got a clean unanimous decision in our favor. And the poppy seed bagel is really helpful because we were just making a point that when you eat poppy seeds, there's trace opiates. It's not a problem. In fact, the government raised drug test thresholds to accommodate poppy seed bagels. But we, with the current THC thresholds, we actually lowered we got the seed so clean that you wouldn't be able to test positive at current drug test thresholds. So we were just saying, like, look, the government's going out of their way to help poppy seed bagels. We solved the problem with, on our side, and now they're still coming after us. So we were able to back them down. And, fast forward, it took a while for us to actually be able to grow hemp. For a while we could import it, but we couldn't grow it. But finally in 2016, the farm, we got, the first cracks in that. And then 2018, we got full approval, full commercialization of hemp in the States, and going hand in hand with a lot of, we've been fighting to end cannabis prohibition, generally, first medical and then just adult use. Now pivoting to integrating psychedelics and ending the drug war entirely. Because if you're an addict, I was mentioning that I was down in Topazlan, it's a beautiful spot south of Mexico City, and I was doing ibogaine, and I was doing it for more psychospiritual purposes. And ibogaine is this incredibly powerful psychedelic from a root, the iboga root in Africa, and the pygmies. So the pygmies have been holding, the iboga medicine for who knows how long, but they've been passing it on to tribes in Central Africa. And ibogaine's gotten a lot of attention because it helps people who are addicted to opiates. It has this unique ability to interrupt withdrawal, and it'll reset the dopamine system while precipitating a really huge experience, like a kind of judgment day, life review. I don't know if you saw Black Panther. So remember the medicine when they kind of bury you with the blue flower,
Yeah.
and then you hit the ancestral plane and you're checking in with your ancestors and stuff. So that's kind of, it's a Hollywood version of kind of Ibogaine. But yeah, you got to come correct, and you're going to get showed what's what, and it's not easy, but it can really helps people kind of get a hold of their lives and put in place, yeah, it's not going to do it by itself. I mean, all the reasons you're an addict in the first place, as far as your emotional pain and trauma and whatever, still, you still need to work on that, and if you're not going to do it, you're going to relapse, but you'll be free of the physical craving. And I've seen, it's been miraculous and it's been amazing. And you just realize that, like, this whole criminalization of drug addicts and addiction is not helping anybody. And we need to just be ramping up the real treatments, and psychedelic assisted therapy just has huge promise for people struggling with substance use disorders. And yeah.
Oh man, there's a friend of mine who's a PhD, Dr. Bob. He says that those of us who are endocannabinoid deficient live in fear and want to control, and those of us who are content don't. And in that way, because our endocannabinoid system helps with stress-free adaptation, we're going through life, just taking things as they come, and while those of us who are more fearful are looking to protect that by thwarting off any potential dangers and whatnot. And in that way, we could imagine through that rabbit hole why, whoever's been the powers that be pulling the strings or on the front lines or whatever that we see, why the interests would be there to keep the people away from things that would allow us to wake up or allow us to take care of ourselves in a way that we're less dependent and more sovereign. And that seems to be going against the grain in a society that needs dependence. So I'm grateful that you're sharing your message, the truth that you found in this, and that people can have an inspiration. Like I was saying before, we're humans, and we mimic and we learn through things that we see, and then we put our own little spin on it. At least that's what I'm learning. And so in that way, to know what's possible out here, you seem like a very functional individual, so we don't have to go into you being like the reasons why you did Ibogaine, though I've seen documentaries on it and information about it since for a long time now, that it definitely has incredible potential to support people with serious addictions. And at the same time, I'm sure that it can support people who aren't full-blown addicts and are just looking to perhaps align more with the journey. And so that's interesting that you brought up Ibogaine at this time.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, just yeah, no, I wasn't struggling with substance use disorders in the way like a lot of people do, but I did have a friend who showed up, hot nosedive, and it was just kind of a journey with him 3 years ago. Where, and when you read about Ibogaine, you generally are like, whoa, I mean, that's something I'm never going to do, but it's actually amazing medicine. And the trip accounts, I mean, a lot of times when you're reading trip accounts of people who are really desperate, they're at a desperate place in their life, and so it's not that the experience isn't grueling, but I mean, that you just got to kind of put that context on it. So, in my experience, it's not any more grueling than ayahuasca. It's, can also, be very difficult, but difficult isn't bad. It's just like, you're just, it's like there's a lot of stuff we avoid facing or dealing with or whatever, or just don't want to acknowledge. And, that's never fun, but that's what the medicine is. And, yeah, and so I've really appreciated it. I've also done iboga in a more kind of Bwiti. The Bwiti is the religion, and it means the study of life. And the Bwiti are they've been holding the medicine, and it's for them. It's not about addiction at all. It's about just getting in touch with truth and spirit, and yeah. So I'm excited to continue to deepen my alliance and appreciation of these, and especially these indigenous medicines. I kind of came in more through LSD and MDMA and stuff, but really been appreciating the indigenous ceremonial plant medicine container and just how powerful that is. And so I've been down to Wirakuta, down in the Sowichel, the Raratica. They've been holding peyote ceremony for 10,000 years down in Mexico. Just super powerful. And in fact, I was there right before I went to Expo West to launch the Regenerative Organic Standard with allies from Patagonia and Compassionate Farming and Farewell Project. And I was down there, and it was an all-night prayer for world unity, and it's really powerful. And the day, so it's all night, and then the day with the rising of the sun, it's my granddad's death day, my daughter's birthday. My granddad was all about world unity, and it was just couldn't be more appropriate and awesome. And but they sacrifice a bull with the rising of a sun to symbolize the cycles of life and death and rebirth. And as a lifelong vegan, this is pretty intense, but I'm just sitting present to it. And I'd already gone on a deep dive visiting different farms, and realized that if you're a high level livestock operator, and your animals are lived on pasture and they're not in these little tiny cages, living a miserable, horrible life. But if living a good life, and then their last day is humane and quick, that okay, I'm in solidarity with you, like against the factory farming machine that's eating the world for lunch, but nonetheless very intense to be present to this. But what hit me was that the colonial judgment that would judge this act of animal sacrifice barbaric is so ass backwards, that this animal lived the life worth living. It got, it's being prayed over, all its flesh will be reverentially consumed. And it's the 99% animals in our world that are being raised in cages. Nobody takes any responsibility. It's fucking a horse show. It's miserable. Their best day of their life is their last day.
Nobody knows them or celebrates them or prays over them.
No, this is that's that's what's barbaric, and that we need to restore this more indigenous way of being and relating and healing, and that this is the medicine and this is the way that we need to humble ourselves and learn, because we're way out of balance, and we need to get into balance, which the indigenous are, and they have the medicines to help them. And just really realizing it as I was going to Expo West to help launch the standard, like, wow, this is like kind of all about like restoring right relationship between humanity and animals and nature, and really appreciated so that indigenous way is something I really want to understand better.
Bro, perfect timing. My uncle Doug Goodfeather, a Lakota medicine man, just released a book. It's called Think Indigenous.
Oh, whoa.
And please definitely get it. I just got my mother a copy. I got a copy, hard copy, but I just got the Kindle. I've been reading it on the way here. Thank you, Uncle. It's incredible. Also, just since I'm thanking, I want to thank Brigitte Mars for connecting us.
Oh yeah, right on. Yeah, cool.
And Indigenous is a great book, and to learn not necessarily how to be Lakota, but how to think more indigenous, since we're all indigenous to this earth, to some place on this earth, and being more in touch with ourselves, with spirits, with every living thing, and in that way living a good life and walking a good road. And so definitely check out Think Indigenous by Doug Goodfeather.
Dude, I totally will, man. I'm gonna immediately get that. And I was actually, when I went down to Wirakuta, I was with Native American church leadership, including Sandor Iron Rope, and he's the head of the Lakota Native American Church. Super duper dope cat. Yeah, so awesome, man.
Yeah, one of the cool things about Lakota and the way that I've learned from Doug Goodfeather, who learned from great uncle Crow Dog, who just passed away, may he journey home well, is that they don't use psychedelics when they journey, and going out on Blecha vision quests for up to 4 days or more. I met a man who had done 8 days, no food or water.
Yeah, and you can get there in other ways, man. Dude, that Sundance, I don't know. I mean, I've been invited. I'm like, I don't know, man. That Sundance, I mean, but similar, right? You dance all night, all day, no food, no
Yeah,
water. Yeah.
not the one I went to up in Fort Laramie, Wyoming, was not. They didn't dance at night. They dance during the day. They don't eat or drink at night though, and then they come out each day and dance all day long. And that is 4 days, no food or water.
And then
And
did they get suspended with the hooks?
there are people that do pierce, and there's different ways to do it. Whether or not you you yeah, there's different ways to do it. I've seen it done from the tree, which is the sacred tree in the middle. I've seen it done from bull, from buffalo, but you know,
Yeah.
respecting their ways and keeping it as and private as possible, because I'm not one to share these ways.
No, for sure. But the point, I think the point we're making is that there's ways of accessing
Yes,
soulful, deep soul, like, kind of, you're basically starving your ego, your small self, to like get in touch with the spirit world. And yeah, man. Yeah, psychedelics is one path, but there's others. Yeah.
it's a path that has absolutely helped me and been profound in different points of my life. It first started, I was intrigued through peyote by learning about doors and wasn't able to find it. And thanks to the rave scene, I found a myriad of things, including LSD, which has really opened me up, and of course MDMA, and so on and so forth. And then had an incredible experience with DMT that really revealed my smile. And
Nice, man.
and
Wow.
so from there, I definitely agree, or share the sentiment that we're all connected, especially under the sun. I don't know what's going on out there, but I I do enjoy giving, celebrating those of us who are luminaries in our world, and seeing our contributions through our actions, like I was saying. And so being somebody that uses your products, I'm really happy that I am able to learn from you and with you, and share this in a good way to people, because I feel that, from people who want to be business owners, from people who are business owners that want to be more mindful about our impact, or about the integrity of our business, the integrity of who we are, for people who want to experience quality, for people who want to know how to vote with our dollar and how to create change in our world through perhaps now understanding we can vote by where we put our dollars, and giving it to companies who care about us. And so in this way, again, I salute you guys for putting in your care into action. And not only that, but I've always been somebody who's been considered somewhat of a rebel. And I rap, and the name is burntmd, the microphone doctor. And so being burnt has been like a shadow under the sun. And in that way, we from burnt forest comes lush growth. So what people see as like against the grain, or the shadow side, or whatever it is, that's where real work gets done. And I see, it's being in marketing and branding and products, and seeing how, I don't, and I enjoy being original. And so through enjoy being original, and through knowing that education is the key to understanding and learn, and having more of a reason to care, that I see the way you guys are marketing even is, you look at a Dr. Bronner's bottle, and you have bathroom reading material. You have learning material. You have you're gonna get some history. You're gonna get some of your passion. You're gonna talk about that a little bit, if you will. Just being original, and educating through any means you can.
Yeah. So my granddad, when he was, he felt urgently called on his life mission here to, unite the human race. So he's going around lecturing in the country, and people would come, and he was selling his soap, his family's natural concealed soaps on the side. This is the post-World War II era, so everything was moving to a petrochemical basis. So it was, all of a sudden there's like pesticides and synthetic fertilizers and plastic and everything. So the soaps were kind of like a little out of fashion. Um, but he was going around lecturing, and he noticed that word was getting out that like God, this is pretty gosh darn dang good soap, and people were coming to get the soap and not really listening to what he had to say. So he put his message on the bottle. So that's when he started like, okay, well, I'm gonna just put it on the bottle. So then when you forget a magazine in the bathroom, I've got you. So yeah, so that's that's where that came from. But yeah, he was a big fan of Thomas Paine, one of the revolutionary fathers, and Thomas Paine was a famous pamphleteer. And my granddad really believed in the power of pamphlets. So in a way, it's like kind of pamphleteering, and that's what we do. So we generally, the label's a memorial to my granddad, but like every once in a while we'll do a special label for like a few months just to communicate about an issue we believe in. So this was our Heal Soul label, and it's all about psychedelics and psychedelic medicine, and so this, we sell in all like, obviously all the natural food markets and Whole Foods and stuff, but also like Walmart and Walgreens and just everywhere. We're everywhere now. So when we did this, we were like, I was expecting that we were going to have a bunch of our customers freak out and we'd have to swap in our old label, but at least we do it for a little bit before they found out. But my brother, company president Mike Bronner, he said that our goal here is to communicate in a way my mom's church group can receive. Like, how do we talk about psychedelic therapy, medicine? So it's like a very just serious, just kind of presenting like just how healing this is, and for veterans and just everybody, and we didn't get one complaint. And in fact, Walgreens, like they said, because they want to do an ad, and we sent them like our normal thing is like, no, we want the Heal Soul label. And I was just like, wow. So yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Wow. What flavor is this?
It's lemon cream.
Lemon cream.
Yeah.
What? So we do.
I'm starting to play around with flavors.
Oh, okay. So Kimmy is our magician in the kitchen. So we do free plant-based meals or organic plant-based meals at Bronner's, and on Fridays the taco truck comes out when we'll do grass-fed beef and do high-level pasture meats. But generally it's all free vegan meals. And she's been playing around with the ice cream machine. So there's like some coconut lemon cream.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, man. Right on. Yeah, that's where it's at.
Blessed.
Yeah.
Blessed.
Yeah, 100%.
Eat the rainbow and feel the love and spread the love. And I just love being able to give people flowers and celebrations while we're alive, and B, I love love. And so seeing where, you're placing all of this love and care into different parts of your life, like things that you care about. I always say, you're the only one that loves what you love the way you love it. And that's the magic that you bring to the world, as long as you're cultivating your love and sharing that. And I remember one time smoking DMT in the forest and then realizing like, oh my God, I can't move because there's life all around me. Anywhere I go, I'm going to impact something's life. And then realizing that lesson out in the world, because I've been so impactful in so many ways, not even realizing it. And then realizing the power that we have by actually doing nothing. We're so powerful. If we do nothing, things just work, not necessarily in our lives, but for the world. One of the things that it says in Think Indigenous is like, one of the only life forms on Earth, or if not the only life form on Earth, that you can take away from Earth and Earth will continue, if not even better, as humans. Every other life form, if you took it away, it would impact some other life in some other way. And, in that way, being stewards of the world might just serve our own ego. I don't know why we're here, though I do know that I'm not here to ruin anybody else's life. In fact, I really enjoy seeing other people really happy. And so whatever I can do I don't know if I can make anybody else's life better, though I can definitely influence others or whatever it is. And so, just thank you for doing your part and for, coming on this show, being willing to spread your love and your message And, is there anything that, I know we have a few minutes left. So is there anything that when you're walking around or when you're doing your work or whatever it is, you're like, man, I really wish people knew this. And I know you put a lot of information on your bottles and whatnot, but this would be a great time to open up that window and share some of your personal thoughts and beliefs and what you think might be able to inspire another to care more.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're saying it well, and it's about love. I mean, we're here to get down with each other and love one another, make it serve and just serve spirit. In the midst of the absurdity and the suffering, it's that love is at the heart of it and wants to manifest. And this world can be a way better version of itself. And so, and as you say, like each of us has a unique gift, and kind of like figuring out what that is and what truth you bring, and just rocking it. And and psychedelic medicine sounds like help both of us a lot, and I think it'll help a lot more people. It's be intentional, and pay attention to setting and preparation and integration. But yeah, these allies can really help. And yeah, man. And thank you, brother, for rocking your path and sharing. And I want to know what so Burnt, what's your MC?
burntmd, yeah.
burntmd, man. Right on. Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah.
I was going to say real quick that you had said that your message, your brother Mike was saying he wants it to be able to be deliverable or palatable for your mother's church group. And recently during the pandemic, recorded a song with my friend Silent Bear, and it's called Illuminate Yourself. And it's a beautiful video, a drone-based video made by my friend Michael Murray that's on YouTube. Though I got invited to perform it at the daughter of a rabbi, of a observant Hasidic rabbi, a Jewish rabbi's daughter. And they just wanted me to come rap. And so I performed that song, and it ended up being apparently one of the talks of the wedding, and got to speak to a bunch of rabbis that came from New York and all these places that were interested in this song that I would have never been able to prior to that rap in front of people like that were more respectful. It wasn't the kind of messages or frequencies that would have been palatable in that way. And so being able to do that and being received allowed me to understand truly even more my impact and like the words that I speak and where they're going to live. And I remember looking at, listening to some older tunes that I put out and just hearing so much aggression and anger or sadness or whatever it is, and how that got expressed, and seeing today the difference, and just really being grateful for the ability to be grateful and to live in gratitude more, and to share that frequency of joy, rather than choosing to share the frequency of pain and anger and living in that. And it's just a different life.
Wow. Yeah. Well, right on, brother. I don't know if you're ever up in the San Diego area, but yeah, look me up. Let's hang out.
Thank you, man. I might be very soon, actually. And if you come to Colorado, or when you do, definitely feel free to link up. We can do some really cool things, and look forward to talking with you more. Thank you for your time. And I'm glad we got to connect. Shout out to buildersoil.com. They're all about the regenerative agriculture and organic soil amendments and living soil and no-till living soil, and definitely all aligned with what you guys are promoting. So thank you for doing your part in that way, because we really have the ability to respond to our abilities to grow healthier, more nutrient-dense foods and products that give back to the world in beneficial ways, rather than just taking from it and taking animal environments and so on and so forth. So thank you for doing your part. Dr. Bronner's, how do people get in touch with Dr. Bronner's? I know you said you're in stores everywhere, but where can they find you?
Yeah, Dr. Bronner, drbronner.com. And yeah, a lot more info, and get stuff that the stores don't got. Yeah, get some hats, whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll connect. Thank you so much. Big love.
Yeah,
and,
big love, brother.
As always, let's complete this show sharing the miracle of life with a deep breath on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Continue enjoying your day.
Yeah, right on. Thank you, brother.
Blessings.
Yeah.
Make sure you subscribe to the Pharms Not Farms podcast on Spotify and Apple and now Google Podcasts. Check out all the archived episodes of pharmsnotfarms.org, and blessings on your journey.
Subscribe to the Pharms Not Farms podcast on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts.